our modern digital wireless age, we are seeing dive computers with wireless air integration as a standard feature, but what does it do and what do you need to know as a diver? Hi all of you awesome scuba divers out there, welcome to the Scuba Diver Magazine channel, your favourite place for the latest scuba diving news and gear reviews. This is sponsored by top dive computer manufacturer Shearwater Research because they've just released their Peregrine TX dive computer that has wireless air integration and a perfect score as well as far as I'm concerned. The Peregrine TX is one of the best dive computers on the market right now, and you can have your very own. Just visit shearwater.com to find your nearest Shearwater dealer and more information on the Peregrine TX. I love it personally as a dive computer. Shearwater don't even have to sponsor me to say that because it is legitimately a really nice dive computer. If you go on any social media outlet and ask that question, a lot of people are going to agree with me, but yeah, you can head over to shearwater.com to check out the new Peregrine TX dive computer. But yes, if you are in the market for a new dive computer, chances are you've probably seen a few of them have like AI or TX in the name, or like wireless integration mentioned in the features. So I'm going to break down exactly what you need to use wireless air integration and to get the most out of that features, what air integration can do for you, and as well the long-term considerations for air integration, owning the equipment and anything that you might need to know like after 2 or 3 years. The first piece of equipment that you're going to need is a dive computer with air integration, obviously, and a matching wireless air transmitter. Not all dive computers themselves have wireless air integration, so you need to make sure that the one that you pick, first of all, actually has that feature. For example, you can buy a Shearwater Peregrine dive computer or a Shearwater Peregrine TX dive computer. There are 2 versions. There are a few upgrades on the TX, but the main one is that wireless air integration, and it's not unusual to find like a cheaper non-AI version of a particular dive computer. So if you are looking around online, you do find a computer that you've been looking at that's much cheaper than other websites. It may be like a non-AI version, so do be aware of that and do your research. Once you've got the computer, you need a matching transmitter. A transmitter won't talk to any other computer, only select ones. So the Peregrine TX, for example, you'll need a Swift transmitter. It can be a little complicated when it comes to like mixing brands because some brand transmitters can connect to different brand computers, but it's easiest just to buy a matching transmitter. If you go on the manufacturer's website, they'll be quite clear about which one will actually pair. Otherwise, I have to go down the actual like company that makes the transmitter technology for various brands. It gets quite complicated. Sometimes you can mix brands, but if you want to err on the side of caution, it's best just to stick to the same brand. The transmitter itself will screw into a high pressure port on your regulator, but many divers don't like to fit the transmitter directly to the first stage because it can be a bit too easy for someone to grab it like a handle and then break it, because it's only really plastic and you don't want the entire weight of your cylinder and your BCD, and if you've got integrated weights, that's a lot of weight to put on that little joint, so you don't want to break it. Your transmitter is a little electronic beacon with a pressure sensor, a battery and an antenna. There's some chipboards and stuff on the inside as well, but that's basically it. It broadcasts the pressure that it detects once every few seconds, and some even have a little indicator light on the end so that you know that they're working, because otherwise there's no other like obvious indicator whether it's switched on or whether there's like a communication issue. But also they often have like a traffic light system so that you know roughly how much pressure is in your cylinder, so that your buddy can, or you and your buddy can see roughly how much gas is in your cylinder. If it's green or amber, then everything's fine. If it starts to go red, then maybe they haven't noticed. It is just a color-coded indicator. Some divers use a short pressure hose if you're not attaching it directly to that first stage, something like 16 inches long, just to give that transmitter a bit of flexibility to move around. If you do this, however, you're going to need a swivel pin or a high pressure spool. They have different names in different places, but you'll need one of these. It's about 2 centimeters long, and they have a small O-ring on either end, and that goes between the hose and the transmitter just to seal it. If you don't have that, it is going to hiss a lot. So yeah, you need one of these swivel pins. Because you need to attach the transmitter to a regulator first stage, you really need your own regulator at this stage. Ideally one with 2 high pressure ports so that you can fit both a transmitter on one side and a traditional SPG on the other, but many divers are relying just on a transmitter today. You just need to keep on top of that battery level because you don't want that to run out in the middle of a dive. If you don't own your own regulator and you rent them whenever you go on a dive trip, then just contact the dive center early that you're renting from as early as possible, asking if you can fit your transmitter to their regulators whilst you're using them. Most won't have a problem with it, but some might have policies or something about it, so it's best to ask the question and ask as early as possible. It's not particularly hard to fit one to a first stage. You don't need complicated tools or anything, but it can't hurt to just ask the question. Failing that, maybe now is the time to buy your first set of regulators. Now that you have all of the equipment, the computer, the transmitter, maybe a hose in the middle, next you need to pair the transmitter to your computer. So if you only have one cylinder, this is very easy. If you're diving with multiple cylinders, it's just as easy, but a bit more time consuming, and you do need to stay organized. That's why some of them come like color coded. They come in different colors other than black. Exactly how to pair a transmitter will be outlined in the dreaded user manual, but it's usually one of 2 methods. The first method is what I call semi-permanent, and the key here is timing. When you first pressurize your regulators and your transmitter, for the first 20 seconds or so, it might vary, it will broadcast a particular pairing signal. After that first 20 seconds of being pressurized, it only broadcasts the cylinder pressure. So before you open that cylinder valve, wake up your dive computer, set that to pairing mode where it's listening out for a transmitter, then open the cylinder valve and they should pair up. The reason for this is that you don't want to pair to just any transmitter. Otherwise you could pair to your buddy's transmitter, Steve, who's setting up over there. You want to make sure that you're pairing to the one on your cylinder. Otherwise you're going to have the wrong idea of how much gas is in your cylinder, or as Steve swims off in a different direction, you get a connection error. Transmitters will have various frequencies or channels that they broadcast on, and once you've paired it, your computer will only listen to that paired channel. You can get the problem if you're using a lot of transmitters in quite close proximity, or where the entire dive boat has transmitters, where you can get a bit of interference. But some transmitters, like the Shearwater Swift, in typical Canadian politeness, it actually listens out for other transmitters, and if it senses another transmitter is transmitting and there's going to be interference, it waits before it broadcasts for a clear signal, whereas others are a bit more brutish and they just, hey, every like 5 seconds or something I'm going to broadcast. Most semi-permanent computers will remember that channel that you've paired for a good few days. So you don't need to pair before every single dive. It's usually done like once at the beginning of a dive trip, and then you're good for the entire week. Permanent pairing systems like the Peregrine and the Swift typically work by entering the transmitter's serial number into the computer, and that's it. Once that serial number is in that computer, it will always be listening for that particular transmitter. With some computers, you can pair multiple transmitters. I think the most I've ever seen is 10. The purpose for this is that if you're diving with multiple cylinders, you can assign a transmitter to each of them, and set up each transmitter in your dive computer to that particular cylinder's gas mixture, if you're diving multiple gas mixes, and the computer will detect when you're breathing from a different cylinder, and depending on the model, it'll probably prompt you to confirm like a gas switch or something, or if you're diving side mount and you want to keep the pressures similar on each side, the computer may prompt you to switch sides. So you can just allocate, so this particular transmitter is this cylinder, and then it's all kind of organized on your computer. Most transmitters, after the regulator is depressurized, so you turn the cylinder off and you depressurize your regulators, they wait for a few minutes, they continue to broadcast a 0 bar or 0 psi signal, and then they go to sleep just to save power. That's why it's vitally important that you get your computer ready to pair, because if you activate it, you only have those 20 seconds to pair it. And if you miss that 20-second window, trying to set up your dive computer, then you have to wait for a few minutes for it to go back to sleep to then start that process again. So you want to make sure that everything is organized, turn it on whilst you're pairing on the computer. Most transmitters have a fairly limited range. It's usually measured in like 1, maybe 2 meters, depending on the conditions. There are some that have some incredible ranges, but most are fairly limited. They're made for personal use, so they'll have a range just over like 1 meter, and that will reach like an outstretched arm with nice water and nothing to interfere. There are some transmitters, as I say, and computer combinations that have a range to connect to other divers, but they're pretty rare. And the technology that they use, you can sometimes audibly hear it, which can be annoying if the transmitter is right next to your head, but most transmitters are completely silent. The most fundamental thing that a transmitter does is to allow your dive computer to display your cylinder pressure on the dive screen. That way you can see everything from your computer. You can see your current depth, your no decompression limits, your cylinder pressure, all in one place. Instead of having to check your computer and then check your gauges, it's just all in one place. Most dive computers will let you set up an alert if your cylinder pressure drops below a certain level. If you're not paying attention, or there's an unexpected leak and your cylinder pressure is dropping below a pre-set up pressure, the computer will alert you so that you don't go into your reserve unexpectedly. And as I mentioned earlier, some transmitters have a color-coded light on the end, like a traffic light, so that when you have plenty of gas in your cylinder, it's going to blink green, and when it drops below a certain point, it turns yellow, and then when it's in the reserve, it turns red, just to let your buddy know roughly how much gas is in your cylinder. If you're not paying attention, then they can basically let you know to check your gauges, or let your buddy know to prompt you to check your gauges. One cool feature is that most computers can use your breathing rate, how quickly you're breathing, your current depth, and the remaining gas in your cylinder to work out how long your remaining gas will last in minutes. Instead of just giving you, oh, you've got this much gas, it tells you, at this current rate, you've got this amount of time left in this cylinder. It's usually called like gas time remaining, and it can help you to plan your dive profile and when it's best to call the dive and start surfacing. And as with your depth, your computer will log your breathing rate over the dive so that you can analyze it afterwards to help improve your diving. The main considerations for owning a transmitter is the initial cost. They're a lot more expensive than a just traditional submersible pressure gauge, but you can often buy computers and transmitters as like a combo set to save some money. Otherwise, they need a battery and an O-ring change from time to time. The exact time can vary on a bunch of factors, but it's pretty cheap to find battery kits. One thing that I will say is that whilst the battery is a standard size, it's usually a half AA, it's important that you don't reuse the existing O-ring from the previous one because it may not seal properly, and that can be a very expensive mistake. As far as storage, You don't need to remove them from your regulators or do anything particularly special with them. You just want to make sure that they're clean and dry. After, as I said, after a few minutes of being depressurized, they put themselves to sleep to save battery. So yeah, just dry it off, clean it, clean up any salt buildup that may be in any like nooks and crannies, and make sure that it's nice and tight on the first stage from time to time, because they can unscrew themselves. So just make sure it's nicely nipped up. Hopefully that's covered everything. A lot of divers often ask me if transmitters are worth it, and I do recommend transmitters. I use them myself, and they are a very handy accessory to have. If you're at the stage where you are buying a dive computer and you don't have the budget for a computer and a transmitter on top, I would recommend that you still go for the computer with AI inside it, because you can always use that computer without the transmitter, get used to it, get used to how it works, and then when you can afford it, you can then buy a transmitter, and then you sort of unlock an extra mode inside of your dive computer. The last thing that you want to do is buy the cheaper, like non-AI version of a computer, and then in like a year later or something, you want to upgrade to AI because you progress through your diving, but now you need to buy the more expensive dive computer as well, and a transmitter to replace the non-AI computer. So it's always worth just getting that mode. Even if you're not buying a transmitter at the same time, you can invest in one a little bit later. We're pretty much at the stage where a transmitter can replace a submersible pressure gauge. I wouldn't think twice about a diver who only had a transmitter fitted to their regulator. You just need to make sure that the battery is charged frequently. Personally, I still dive with both a transmitter and a submersible pressure gauge for redundancy. I feel that's more just like tradition. In my mind, I know plenty of divers who only dive with transmitters. So yeah, they are very handy and useful, practical accessory. And yeah, if you do have a computer that does have wireless AI, it's definitely worth sort of getting a transmitter when you can. If you do have any questions about transmitters, then pop them down in the comments under this video. And remember to check out Shearwater and the new Peregrine TX dive computer. It is honestly one of the best new dive computers in 2024, and well worth your consideration regardless of your level. If you're just starting out, it will be your one and only dive computer. Yeah, it's a really smart little machine. Also check out our website and a magazine by visiting scubadivermag.com. Before you leave, remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Thank you for watching, everybody, and of course, safe diving.